Boom, shakalaka boom. You've tuned in to the free-range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality radio. It starts right now. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards, coming at you live here in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios on the campus of 103.9 FM, a WYAB, out here in the lovely Flora, Mississippi, as we inch ever so close to cranking it up to 50,000 heavy metal watts, pumping across the airway, border to border, east to west, and north and south, as far as it'll go. We will be not only the most powerful talk radio station in central Mississippi, we'll be the most powerful non-music station in the entire state of Mississippi. Whoo-wee. You think they're going to be able to handle all this incendiary content in Itabena, in South Haven, in Oxford, in Starkville, Mississippi? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. What about Copiah County, a little further down that way? I'll be happy with that. Let's just get the Tri-County area. Let's get it all rock and roll. Hines, Rankin, Madison, Copiah, whatever that is north of Madison. Holmes. Let's just lock down this area right here. I want to take over Meridian. I want to give my boy Scotty Ray a run for his money over there. Now, I love Scotty Ray, man. I love Scotty Ray. But we coming for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Scotty. Don't, please, Hammer, don't hurt me. Please, Hammer, don't hurt me. You know, actually, with us being able to be heard in Meridian now, when this all goes live, I do want to start having Scotty Ray on the show some more. And if you're not following Scotty Ray and you live anywhere east of Brandon, east of Pillahatchee, nobody covers the news better than the Scotty Ray Report. He's a guy that I have definitely, I wouldn't say have modeled everything I've done after him, but I keep a good eye on Scotty Ray, and we have lots of good long conversations about all this stuff and what works and how to do it and all that stuff. I like Scotty Ray a lot. He's been very, very instrumental in helping guide my career a little bit, especially the online side of it. And I've helped him out a little bit too. So kind of helping him out with like TikTok and stuff of that nature. So them OG guys, man, listen to them, man. The young bucks out there, listen to them OGs when they try to give you some advice. Kim Wade has helped me a ton with radio and just handling success and whatnot. My buddy Michael Wimberly, who actually I think I'm older than Michael, but he's had a lot of business success. You know, he's given me a lot of great advice. So, and look, sometimes advice can come from watching somebody and learning what not to do. I got friends like that too. People that I've watched and I've learned, don't want to do that. Let them pay that stupid tax for me, and I'll just watch them mess up. There's a lot more of that probably than anything, right? All right. Swing by the merch shop. I'm wearing a FAFO hoodie. They are not in stock and available right now, but after putting the slide in this bone this morning, after getting it up out the closet, I think it's time to bring back the hoodies. Michael Applewhite. Let's get that order in, dog. Let's get that order in. It feels good, man. It feels good and snug since I put this on, man. That gut's gone. This is how a hoodie's supposed to fit. Shorts on and a hoodie. Ain't nothing much more Mississippi than that, is it? Cool in the mornings, 120 by lunch. I got a T-shirt on up under it. Man, I'm looking forward to going to my first Good Old Boys party. That's what it's called. Bunch of like-minded individuals. No, I'm kidding. Big political event up there in Oxford tonight, man. It's supposed to be a hoedown, literally, like an old school hoedown. And I'm excited about it. Big old political function. All the big wigs are going to be there. And then me, making them uncomfortable. Lynn Fitch is going to be there after this morning's show and that video I made yesterday. I don't know how excited Lynn is going to be to see Clay, but we shall see. We shall see. Let's see here. The Guns of Gear text line, 769-241-1944. The Mazda of Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. If anybody wants to call in, unload a little bit. So I posed a question last night on Facebook. I said, what do you guys want to talk about? How about we do a little listener's choice? I guess because I reused a flyer that I've used before that just kind of promotes the show and the showtime. Facebook knows that I reposted something, so it looks like I'm trying to skirt paying them money to advertise with a post like that. So not too many people saw it, but somebody did ask that they wanted to know the true story behind why Lance Pogue is out at Brandon. And look, I'll just tell you what I've heard. And it's going to be short and sweet because I was one of the ones that was really excited about that hire. I was like, this is going to be what gets us across the finish line. And Brandon's my adopted hometown. So Brandon High School is my adopted high school, but it has been for years, even before I lived there, because my buddy Jake Wimberly became the voice of the Brandon Bulldogs 10 years ago or so, not longer now. And it was right when Gardner Minshew was a freshman, I believe. And I went to every single game Gardner started for 3 or 4 years, just riding shotgun with Jake and going and sitting in the booth and absorbing how they did all that. Some big playoff games. I was on the field when they lost to Lance Pogue and that team from South Panola at the Vet in that state championship game. It was heartbreaking game. But so I just thought Lance was going to be the hire that got Brandon across the finish line. They've come so close so many times. You got the rooftops, you got the talent, you got everything out there to win state championships. You just can't quite get across the finish line there, in the big game. But with that said, Pogue is out less than a full season in. A shocker. My understanding, sources within the program, students telling their parents that it had just become untenable. It was very toxic. The players weren't buying in to Lance's culture. And it would just end up being a culture issue. I don't want that culture rot. Let's not get things confused. There's culture within side programs. And the way Lance wanted to do things and the way Brandon culture had been apparently just didn't jihad. They had fired not a head coach, but they had fired a longtime assistant earlier in the year. To my understanding, a lot of the players liked. There was a players-only meeting, and then the next day the coach was out. That's according to sources, so I'm not saying anything of that's confirmed. But for a coach to quit mid-season in high school at a big program like that, a big-name coach like that, you could tell something wasn't right. It was more than just the wins losses. There was something toxic was brewing in that locker room within that program. But I hate it didn't work, man. I really hate it didn't work because I was pulling for it. I thought, man, nobody deserves anything. You go out and you earn what you get in life. The Brandon high school football team don't deserve state championships. The city of Brandon, the fan base, the alumni, the buy-in from Brandonians deserves a state championship because no fan base in this state puts more into a program than the Brandon Bulldogs do. Now, I'm not saying people don't put just as much, but the buy-in from the city of Brandon, the alumni, the alumni association, all that stuff, it's there. They deserve a state championship for their buy-in and doing what it takes to get that program to the level it's at. And this ain't a sports show, so we'll move from this here in just a second. But the players don't deserve anything. You go out, you earn it. But the commitment from the city and the fan base, they deserve a state championship. And they will get one. They will get one at some point. You keep playing for them enough, you'll eventually going to win one of these things. It took Dale Earnhardt 20 Daytona 500s before he finally won one. I think he was either 19-1 or 20-1, not counting the one he died in the year later, which, how poetic. He wins it. The next year he dies in the race. He didn't even finish it. Dies on the last lap. But you get enough swings at that bat, and you will, in fact, connect at some point. So they won't be this year. It will not be this year. I hated to see Wyatt Rogers not get the job as the interim. I'm guessing it's just because he didn't want it. I love old Wyatt Rogers. I love his son, Will. Wyatt's been there for a long time. Just a good, rock-solid human being. And I thought he'd be a great guy for the job. But, again, I'm guessing it's just because he didn't want it if he's not the one doing it. So let's do this. Let's take a couple-minute early break, come back, reset, and let's go after Lynn Fitch on this ridiculous Capitol Police witch hunt where their own star witness, so to say, their star expert, took their evidence as they're trying to prosecute 2 former Capitol Police officers and shows that they were not in the wrong and that the killing of Jalen Lewis was, in fact, not outside the bounds of their job. It was not deemed excessive force, which we could have told you that. I've known that since day one. I seen the pictures of the guy dead with the guns, the dope, all that stuff right there on him. I knew what was up. So I was just shocked that Lynn and her office decided to go after Fredericks and Reinwald. Just shocked on this one. So let's take a break, come back, and we are going to scorch the AG's office, which a little conservative on conservative violence here this morning. And, of course, C.J. LeMasters still just can't wrap his head around the fact that Capitol Police are, in fact, doing the Lord's work. And he just he put out a piece about it and just can't accept the fact that he can't just say these guys didn't do it wrong. He just can't accept it. So we're going to talk about that as well. That's WLBT, C.J. LeMasters, if I wasn't clear there. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back here on the Clay Edwards Show live this morning inside the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB, streaming worldwide at Save JXN on Facebook, X, and YouTube, and at Clay Edwards Show on Rumble. We were not streaming on Facebook, I noticed during the break there. We are now, much to my chagrin. Hey, I want to thank everybody, man. We crossed the 60,000 follower threshold on Facebook about 11 o'clock last night, right as I was laying my head down. Man, I tell you what, set your goals so big they seem crazy. I set my goals to hit 60,000 followers by New Year's Eve about 2 months ago when I was coming out of my Facebook demonetization ban from the summer where they weren't recommending my profile to anybody and all that stuff. And so I've been out of it since August, September, October. Anyway, so I'm about 3 months out of the ban, and we just hit 60,000 followers 9 weeks ahead of schedule. So the new goal would be 75,000 followers on Facebook by New Year's Eve. Now, that means I'll have to get another 15,000 in 67 days where it just took 90 to get that same amount. But, hey, we've gotten more followers. Posts should get more views. We should be able to send more invites. That's all good in the hood. We shoot for 75K by New Year's Eve. So if you're not following the Save JXN, it says Clay Edwards. But if you type in Save JXN to Facebook, it'll take you to the page. Go hit that subscribe button, dog, or follow, whatever it says. I think it says follow. Anyway, we appreciate you. This segment going to be brought to you by our friends out at 042 Wine and Liquor. Guys, they're basically a wholesale to the public liquor store. They got one of the largest selections in all of Rankin County. You can go in there and just about find anything your heart desires. Over 200 plus bourbons and whiskeys, more than 50 different vodka brands to choose from, over 50 tequilas to choose from, 30 plus rums, scotches, and over 400 different wines in stock ready for you to choose from. So they've got it all from Jim Beam to Pappy and everything in between. And did I mention they were locally owned and locally operated? Come on, man. Get over there and see my boys right there on Highway 80 next to Sonny's Barbecue. It's 042 Wine and Liquor. These are good folks. These are good folks. And they're constantly keeping private barrel stuff that their team selected just for that store. I've told you about the Four Roses. That was a phenomenal release party we were a part of. Now they got the Penelope Project X at the only store in the state with that. Swing by. Check it out today. That's 042 Wine and Liquor. I'm cutting a new commercial for them when I get off the air today. So excited about that. All right, man, let's jump into it real quick. Well, we'll come back and read some of the post and all that stuff. Let's jump into the story this morning. Now, I did a video about this yesterday, a dedicated video. I got it up on my YouTube channel, but we're going to run that back. Yeah, we are. Now, Therese Apel over at Dark Horse Press and them had a really good story here. I thought it would be front page. The only thing I don't like about their website is the stories just cycle to the bottom, and you have to scroll to find them. All right, here we go. I'm going to do a little reading here, so y'all pay attention now. Expert opinion finds indicted former Capitol Police officers did not use excessive force. Now, we ain't going to read the whole thing. You can go watch that video from yesterday, or you can go read it yourself at darkhorsepressnow.com. A federal law enforcement expert has concluded that the use of deadly force by two Capitol Police officers during a 2022 traffic stop in Jackson was justified and not excessive. The expert, Jeffrey Artis, a retired FBI special agent with more than 24 years of law enforcement experience, including several years in the Jackson field office, reviewed police reports, witness interviews, autopsy records, department policies, and video footage related to the September 25th, 2022 shooting of thug Jalen Lewis. I added that thug part in there. Attorney General's office spokesperson Marissa Lee said the AG's office does not comment on ongoing litigation. I bet they don't. Not when you get mud in your face like this and your own expert comes out and says that, y'all got this one wrong, guys. Continuing. According to Artis' statement, officers Michael Reinwald and Stephen Frederick were attempting to stop a white Jeep Cherokee linked to recent auto burglaries when the vehicle struck another police car and then moved toward the officers. Both Reinwald and Frederick fired at the Jeep as it approached, and Lewis was later found to be armed with two handguns, an assault rifle, and drugs in the vehicle. Paint me shocked. A future rocket scientist, engineer, and astronaut, potentially, if he played his cards right and kept his nose clean, very well could have been on SpaceX. He's on a different kind of SpaceX. Hey! Anyway, according to the indictment dated April 14th, 2025, Michael Reinwald and Stephen Frederick are facing a manslaughter charge in the death of Lewis, who was fatally shot near East Mays Street in Jacktown. The indictment states that Reinwald and Frederick were truly in fear for their lives at the time of the shooting, but that it was the opinion of the AG's office that they shouldn't have been. Now, we're going to circle back to that part. Let me finish reading. Officers Sweeney and Webster both told NBI agents that the Jeep struck their vehicle and then attempted to leave the scene by turning and trying to drive around Frederick and Reinwald's police vehicle. According to those officers, this placed Frederick and Reinwald in the path of the Jeep as it was moving forward. The report says Reinwald and Frederick told NBI agents that the Jeep struck Sweeney and Webster's police vehicle and then drove forward around their vehicle and toward them. Frederick and Reinwald both told NBI agents that they believed the Jeep was accelerating quickly in their direction. Both Frederick and Reinwald said they fired at the Jeep because they were fearful of being hit by the Jeep. Artis said that the officers' response fell within the bounds of an objectively reasonable belief that deadly force was necessary to protect the lives of the police officers and others. He emphasized that the moving vehicle is considered a deadly weapon and that officers are not required to wait until they're struck before using force. Now, I want to read this part one more again. He emphasized that the moving vehicle is considered a deadly weapon and that officers are not required to get hit before they defend themselves. Duh. Lynn Fitch, Lynn, anybody in the AG's office listening this morning, he emphasized that a moving vehicle is considered a deadly weapon and that the officers are not, N-O-T not, that means they do not have to wait until they're struck by the vehicle before using deadly force. Artis also noted that the incident was consistent with widely accepted law enforcement practices and Supreme Court standards for evaluating reasonableness of deadly force. Under Supreme Court guidance, the reasonableness, that's a heck of a word, isn't it? Reasonableness of an officer's use of deadly force is measured by the totality of the circumstances at the moment of the shooting. Factors include the severity of the crime prompting the stop, the officer's actions during the encounter, and the suspect's behavior. The analysis is objective, focusing on what a reasonable officer in the same situation would have done, not the individual officer's personal belief. A front seat passenger identified as Selena Hayes told investigators that Lewis had been trying to flee and did not intend to target the officers with the vehicle. Hayes has not been charged in connection with the incident. How would she know? Was she reading his mind? She had just met the guy. And got in the car with him. I think they met at a bar or something like that. That's just my assumption. Maybe they met on Tinder. Who knows? But they had just met. She also told MBI agents that she and Lewis were drinking in the Jeep and that she had not met him before that night. She did not give a reason she was in the vehicle with Lewis. Why wouldn't you just say you were on a date? Could it allegedly have been prostitution? I don't know. I'm just suggesting. Hayes described the pertinent parts of the incident as follows. Hayes, we ain't going to read all that. I'm just going to say this. What had happened here was Jalen Lewis effed around and found out. F-A-F-O. He effed around and found out. Now, this future rocket scientist, engineer, and astronaut caused a big fuss when all this happened. Y'all may remember this clown, Pastor Pickett, who used to pop off at the mouth around here, and he was trying to become the next civil rights preacher. They wanted them a Jacktown George Floyd so bad. They didn't really get it with George, what's his name, that died, that Anthony Fox went to jail over. That just didn't quite get the national coverage that they were looking for. I'm telling you, Lumumba and them, boy, they wanted a George Floyd so bad. They just needed to stand on the backs of a dead black man and just put themselves up so bad and get some national attention. But, and that's what CJ LeMasters and them are trying to do and all that. They want to be the ones that were closely connected to it. So when it goes national, they'll be the person that the national media talks to and raises their profile. It's all about business, man. But they ain't getting that with this one. But Pastor Pickett, he was all tied up in this. And then his name got tied up in some other stuff, and he just kind of faded into the back, didn't he? You don't hear too much more Pastor Pickett anymore. Wasn't his name caught up, possibly, allegedly, caught up in all that stuff with the mayor? I can't remember. But I want to say his name got into crosshairs of some potential legal stuff. Maybe it was some COVID money. I can't remember. Some black for a living nonsense that I ain't no part of. Anyway, but here's my thing. Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a break. When we come back, I want to unpack some parts in this and try to get a better understanding of why the, air quotes in the studio, Republican Attorney General would take a case like this that's so weak and try to throw two law enforcement officers in jail. Now, it's one thing if they did it and it was completely avoidable and they were just down there being some cowboys, just being some jump out boys. But that's not the case. This guy was using a vehicle to try to run them over. And he effed around and found out. Plain and simple. Cut and dry. Why did this attorney general, who has aspirations of running for governor, think that this would be a good idea to go after these two law enforcement officers? Does she think that the law enforcement folks, the law enforcement community, going to back the AG in her bid for governor? Does she think that? No, I hope she does run for governor because I want Sean Tindall to run for AG. There's some other good guys, too, that I know are thinking about running for AG. Any of them win, and it will be a drastic upgrade from the current AG. We'll take a break, come back. Would love to get y'all's calls and opinions on this morning. 601-879-0002 is the Guns and Gear. Is the Mazda of Jackson phone line. The Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. This segment brought to you by our friends over at Tri-County Tree Service. See the number on the screen there if you're watching online. It's 601-940-5499. Get in touch with Russ Borland and the team today and let them come out and take care of all your tree trimming needs. We just need to get some limbs trimmed back so they're not putting your house in danger, or you need to get a whole tree cut down. They can do it all. Need some firewood this year? Got an extra tree out there? Get them to come cut it down, turn it into firewood for you. That's Tri-County Tree Service. And look, man, there's a lot of dead trees out there. I think it was just a couple years ago. I don't know if it's changed or not, but we were in some type of tree pandemic of sorts because of the drought and everything. There's a lot of dead trees here in Mississippi. They've been trimming them back and cutting them down on the interstates, too. So if you got one in your yard, I'd get them to come out and check it out. If you got a leaning tree, you don't want that thing to end up on a car, end up on you, your house, or anything else. Think about the kids. Let Russ and them come out and take care of you. That's Tri-County Tree Service. If you can't remember that for some reason, Google it, Tri-County. You live in the Tri-County area, most likely. Just add Tree Service to the end of it. Very, very simple name to remember. And worst case scenario, you can always reach out to me. Clay, who's that Tree Service you be talking about? And I will text you his number. One last time, Tri-County Tree Service, 601-940-5499. And let me say it in Jacksonian in case anybody don't understand what 4 is. 601-940-5499. All right, I spoke it in 2 languages there. So everybody should have the number locked down. What is this number 4 you speak of? I went to a Crystal's drive-thru one time, the one in Byram. If I'm lying, I'm dying. I kept ordering a number 4. So stupid. I kept ordering a number 4, and the lady kept ordering, saying, a faux? I say, what is this faux you speak of? I want a number 4. I don't speak faux. I don't want a number faux. I want a number 4. 4 bacon cheese crystals, no onions. Large fry. Large Coke. Not faux. You ain't my foe. I want a 4. Anyway. Let's pull up WLBT's version of this story and see how they spun it to be anti-cop. That is my gut feeling of how that went. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. And cause I just want to break this down, and I want to read some of your comments on this. Man, the WLBT just does not like this computer. The way their HTML is on their website, I mean, it just makes this computer come to a screeching halt every single time. Let me pull it up on my phone. It's just so aggravating, man. So aggravating. News. All right. I'm close, man. I'm close. I can't multitask, unfortunately. People are saying, well, you need a producer. A producer can't make the computer go faster. I mean, I don't need a producer, per se. A producer ain't going to bring anything to the table unless he's bringing a brand new computer that likes WLBT. Let me see here. I'm almost there. I want to hit some Frank Melton stuff today, too. So they're going to rename a street after Frank. If I can get the video stuff to work right, I want to play a greatest hits of Frank Melton. This is so weird, man. I don't know why it does this. Let's take a call from Derek. Derek Bellamy out here while I look for this on the Mazda of Jackson phone line. Derek, good morning, my brother.
Good morning, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Hey, I was following your story about why the Attorney General thought it was a good idea to take the case regarding the two shooters.
Yes.
And I really believe it's a case where if you can't beat them, join them type of thing. You know, just another rhino in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, somebody texted in, my buddy of mine, Jay, texted in during the break on the Guns and Gear text line and said that, let me read the exact text here because I just kind of saw the tease of it, but it said something about her kowtowing to the here it is. It says, Lynn Fitch was more than likely pressured by the black community to reopen this case for her lack of attention on the Goon Squad. Somehow she was promised black votes to run for governor is what I would guess. This has majorly backfired for her and has ended her political career. Yeah, that probably makes sense that she thought she could swing the black vote and run for governor if she would open this. And then, and this goes back, if that's true, this goes back to my problem with the black community overall. It's that every time somebody black gets killed by the cops, it's got to be the cops are wrong. It can't be, that thug deserved it. Can it ever be that from the urban black community that, you know what, maybe Jalen Lewis was a piece of crap. You remember?
I'm glad you put that adjective on the urban black community because you and I have had plenty of conversations about that only represents like 10 to 20% of the black population. Yep. But yet they're the ones that's overrepresented in the media, and people wonder why Tyler Perry is so popular because he shows you the other side that Hollywood hasn't allowed you to see, the one that are the professionals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you hit the hammer. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But you hit the hammer right on the nail. It's always going to be the urban community because they're not smart enough and they're too dumb to realize that they're being exploited.
Absolutely.
And it's always going to be that something for nothing mentality.
Absolutely. It's every time, man. Can we not just can somebody that represents the urban black community not come out, the Black for a Living side of the caucus, not come out and say, yeah, Jalen was a thug and he was doing thug stuff and now he's singing a thug prayer. He's a thug angel now.
Yeah. Like I said, it's this teaching that you're automatically a victim out of the gate. But yet, when you see people like myself who are striving and thriving, you don't have nothing to say.
Yeah, I mean,
you have no excuse under the sun. Here I am, a small town boy, grew up in a small one-horse town, and have already made innovations to other states' systems, and they got people who are much smarter than I am, but here I am in the Deep South. So what's my excuse?
Yeah. So,
right?
Yep. Kim Wade just texted in and says, I told you, the black community look at police interactions as a potential lottery scratch-off ticket for the family. That's it.
Exactly. I said it before and I say it again, Clay. We've had a lot of conversations on Saturdays at the breakfast and everything like that. The best thing George Floyd ever did for his family was leave.
Oh, absolutely.
They got paid. Okay, enough said. George Floyd is not a hero. He did the same thing a couple of months prior to his F around and find out, incident. The same thing. But everybody totally ignores that video. So, I got a new slogan I want you to start pushing, Clay, if you're up to listening to it.
What you got?
Yeah, we understand what DEI has done and what it is and what it has done, right?
Yes.
Well, we're going to DEI everything we can.
DEI?
Yeah, DEI, like denazify. We're going to DEI.
So we're going to un-DEI it?
You dang right.
But what if we flipped it around a little bit and just made it undie?
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
Undie.
Hey, brother, it's always good to hear from you, man. I hope you've been watching my page. I've been doing all my updates and everything on my overall.
I've seen you glow up. I'm seeing the glow up.
My sister said I'm going through my midlife crisis, but no.
Brother, you're doing great, man. Don't let nobody pee on your parade, man. I'm proud of you, Derek. You're looking great.
Oh, no, not at all.
You look happy, man.
Hey, thank you, brother. You have a good one.
You too. Always good to hear from one of the OGs of the show right there, Derek Wash, man. If y'all ain't following Derek on Facebook, give him a follow, man. He's one of the good guys out there, and I know one of the good black guys. He's one of the good guys out there. Legit good dude. Proud to call him a friend and a supporter. Let's take a break. We'll be right back here. I want to peel this onion back a little further this morning. It's the Clay Edwards Show. We talk about what we want here. And right now, I want to talk about why our Republican AG thought it would be a good idea to go after 2 Capitol Police that were literally saving Jackson. They almost got killed by some thug. Well, you know what? He was a potential future astronaut. Maybe he thought his Jeep Grand Cherokee was a space shuttle, a torpedo, and he was trying to ram it into the officers. Maybe he thought it was a DeLorean, and he thought if he could get up to 88 miles an hour, he could go back in time and un-F the situation that he found himself in. But he, in fact, did not go back in time. He is now a thug angel. We'll be back. Don't go nowhere. To the soft, soothing sounds of the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. This is Clay Edwards, your host, the most incendiary man on the FM dial. All right, man, welcome back into the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios. We got about a minute and a half left of the hour here. There's no point in jumping into anything too intense. Maybe we can read a text message or two to... I tell you what, let's do a little breaking news. How about that? Because I want to cover this when we come back at some point too. Major breaking news out of the NBA. It appears that some players and coaches have been arrested for gambling ties by the FBI. Portland head coach Chauncey Billups, one of my favorite former players, and Terry Rozier, current guard for the Miami Heat, have been arrested by the FBI for a gambling probe tied to the mob. Were they throwing NBA games? I would say absolutely. Does that mean the NBA is fixed and rigged? I would say absolutely. Do I hope that the NBA collapses because of this? Absolutely. I hate basketball. I particularly hate the NBA. It's ran by a woke gay guy, an LGBTQ rainbow supremacist. They hate their white fans. They have Black Lives Matter painted all over the courts. They stopped a playoff game. They didn't play in a playoff game because some thug got shot by the cops. And I'm not even talking about George Floyd. I'm talking about the other one in Milwaukee. The guy that had kidnapped some kids. They refused to play in a playoff game because that thug got himself shot by the cops. To hell with the NBA. I hope it burns in hell. We'll be right back. Boom goes the dynamite. It's hour 2 of the most incendiary show on the RADIO. This is the Clay Edwards Show on 103.9 FM, WYAB, streaming worldwide at Save JXN on Facebook, X, and YouTube, as well as on Rumble at Clay Edwards Show. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, share, drop a comment, do all that great stuff on whatever platform you're watching. It sure helps the algorithm, and especially you guys over on Facebook. Hit that share button. Let your friends know that you are a supporter of the Clay Edwards Show. And as always, I'm just running this special for as long as I can. You want to save some money? You want a FAFO shirt, flag, cap, a couple free stickers, half off? You want that stuff for half off, and it includes a couple of free stickers. Swing by Apple Podcast. Type Clay Edwards Show. Leave a 5-star review. Boom. Drop a screenshot. Text it to me at the Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. And I'm going to hook you up with a one-time use promo code to get your order half off. Half off. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of that. Get an item for half off. That's saving about $15. Everything on there's like $30, and the long sleeve shirt's $40. You can get it for half off. Save even more money. The more you spend, the more you save. So take advantage of that. Give me them 5-star reviews, man. It helps the algorithm over there on Apple Podcast. So I really appreciate it. Oh, let's see here real quick. This is the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi Studios, and I have uploaded a new before and after photo that I think is going to blow y'all's mind. Now, look, I'm aware that I still got some belly fat that I got to lose down on the bottom down there. It is the hardest part to lose. But this is the most current photo of me without a shirt on. And I know if you're listening on radio, you're not seeing this. You're just going to have to trust me here. But if you're one of the several hundred watching online right now, you're going to see this. And if you follow me on Facebook, you've already seen it. But hey, this is what testosterone, semaglutide, and hard work can do for you if you put your mind to it. That is my 320-pound self on the left there. That was January of 2022. I keep saying January of 21. I don't mean it's January of 22. And that is last Friday there on the right. Like I said, still got some belly fat on the bottom there. You can see it. I can see it. The whole world knows it's there. Got the scars on my stomach where they had to gut me like a deer twice in 3 months because of my diverticulitis. That ain't never going away. But hey, they say chicks like scars. So hey, girls, I got them. They tell a story. Look, it takes hard work. It takes watching what you eat, but it takes that testosterone level being right to find the energy to do all that. If you'll text Clay to 601-800-5130. I'll put the number on the screen there for everybody. Text Clay to 601-800-5130. You're going to get a complimentary testosterone screening, and you too can get your fitness journey started like I did 3 years ago. And you can be the change that you want to be. That's Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi. The free screenings are just for men. Ladies, reach out to them and set up an appointment, a consultation, and see what all they can do for you. But there is no free testosterone screenings for the ladies. But ladies do, in fact, need testosterone. Y'all definitely need testosterone, but y'all need the pellets. They do a little incision on your hiney hind, and they put these little timed release pellets in there that last for a while. And it's a game changer. One of my ex-girlfriends got it, and she did hair for a living, and she was on her feet all the time, and she swears that they were great. They were so good, she decided to go find a new man. True story. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into it. Where do I want to pick this thing up at? So I did some research last night. I know I've kind of been all over the place this morning. I was going to talk about the Frank Melton stuff. Okay, let's talk about Frank Melton real quick. They're going to rename a street after Frank Melton in Jackson. Look, I'm all for it, but who's paying for that? Who's paying for that? Does Jackson really need to be renaming streets right now? Do they really? They ain't got nothing else they could be doing with that money. Can we not? I mean, I guess if you insist on it, I'm okay with it being Frank Melton. But is that really the best use of funds around here right now? I don't think so. But they're going to do what they're going to do. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold Melton said so. Let's go to YouTube real quick and just YouTube. I don't think will make the computer crash. Let's see if we can find a little power clip of Frank Melton doing some of his greatest hits here. Frank Melton, Jackson, Mississippi. Boom shakalaka. Let's see here. This is the Remembering Frank Melton. Let's just let this little 15-second ad run here. Of course. I should have logged into my other account where I have YouTube Premium, but I didn't. So let's do this. Let's listen to a little Frank Melton. Watch a little memorial on Frank real quick, and then we'll pivot, because I got a good show plan for you guys today. Believe it or not. I actually stayed up late doing some show prep and all that, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this second hour this morning. Man, it's like I have to rearrange everything anytime I want to do anything. They're going to show up here. They're going to show up one day here, and there's going to be a new computer in the studio. with a big screen or two. Here we go.
He was immensely popular.
A Texas native who rose to own Mississippi's largest television station and ultimately...
Oh, crap. We can't watch this. This thing's 27 minutes long. Let's see if I can find a plan B here real quick. Not that kind of plan B, lefties. Not that kind of plan B. Let's see. This is only, how long is this? This is 4 minutes. This is a little Geraldo exclusive with Frank Melton. Let's try this out. This seems fun. I didn't know Geraldo came and did a thing with Frank with Fox News.
The jury acquitted him and 2 police bodyguards on a bunch of felony counts after they used some sticks and sledgehammers to rip down a building that the mayor said was a crack house. Mayor Frank Melton joins us now in the wake of this acquittal. Mayor, good to see you. The district attorney, as you know, in this case said the jury made an unfortunate decision in acquitting you. How do you view the verdict? Is it going to give you a green light to keep using your controversial tactics?
No, ma'am. I have a different view, obviously, of the district attorney. I think the jury did the right thing. I think the state of Mississippi and the city of Jackson has sent a very, very strong statement to the United States of America that we're not going to have narcotics sold in our neighborhoods around our senior citizens and our children. It's the number one problem in this country, and it contributes to more crime than any other thing, is the illegal sale of narcotics.
Mayor, talk to us about what your goal is ultimately to get rid of the drugs in your community as you see them, and how you can achieve that if you keep having, run-ins with the law. Last fall, just so our viewers know, you also got in a bit of trouble for carrying a concealed weapon, for carrying your pistol illegally.
Frank was about it.
First of all, when you're dealing with drug dealers, you can't go after them with a slingshot. I mean, it's a very dangerous business. These are very dangerous people. 30 minutes from now, I will be meeting with community improvement and code services here in the city of Jackson to instruct them very specifically in terms of the way that we need to get this done. We're going to focus on one neighborhood at a time. We're going to flush the neighborhoods out. We're going to find out where the drugs are being sold. We're going to notify the owners, and if we don't get a response, we're going to destroy the houses.
You're going to be changing your tactics at all?
Yes, ma'am. The judge has given me some very specific instructions. He has told me how to do it, and I'm going to follow those instructions to the T.
Mayor, you have been quoted as saying, your passion really is your weakness. Do you worry that passion is going to end up bringing you down?
If it does, I can handle that, because you're looking at a man right here who's had to bury over 45 kids in this community that died as a result of homicides. Most of them were drug-related, and I'll have to take the vision of those children to my grave, and I will never get over that. And I work off of drivers, and when my passion kicks in, I do the right thing. I will never, ever do anything to hurt another human being, but we are going to solve this problem.
And Mayor, real quickly, one of your defense attorneys said you may be changing your life as a result of a couple different experiences. This trial, you've also undergone heart surgery. Is he right? And how would you be changing?
Well, I'm a type A behavior. I'm very passionate. I'm very energetic. Health-wise, I'm coming along very fine. I'm back in the swimming pool and, back up to my usual self in terms of health. In terms of the law, I have 2 attorneys that are assigned to me now. But the point that I want America to get is that this is going to get done, and it's going to get done correctly, legally, and it's going to be done in Jackson, Mississippi.
All right.
Mayor Frank Melton.
We'll stop that there. So, per usual. Man, I miss old Frank. Now, look, I wasn't always on the right side of Frank, but I did business with Frank. Not that kind of business. I did business with Frank. So, me and old Brad Franklin hate each other now because he can't keep my name out of his mouth in a negative manner. But there was a time where me and Brad Franklin did business together. That's right. He didn't think I was a white supremacist racist back when I owned all black nightclubs and could financially benefit him. That's so weird how that works. But somehow he magically figured out that I was a secret white supremacist. Freaking idiot. Anyway, he linked me and Melton up, and the more I think about that, the more I just want to choke the shit out of him. Just idiot. But so Frank calls me up one day, And it was after they came down and they arrested my dad at the club. I wasn't there that night. They arrested my dad at the club, and they would on some trumped up fake charges, 100% BS rigged, and still to this day is one of the main reasons I despise JPD and have no respect for JPD. And y'all know nobody has more respect for law enforcement than this guy right here. Well, nobody. I mean, I get called a bootlicker all the time. I'll proudly lick that boot before I become some thug piece of trash. But with that said, I wouldn't lick a JPD boot if it was to save my life. So they come in the club, they're on Capitol Street, and they arrest my dad and said, yeah, you just let 20 minors in back to 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 back times 20 and didn't ask for an ID. So they arrested my dad on 20 charges of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. So this was when Frank was at war with all the nightclubs and strip clubs. And I guess he had us confused because he was battling Tenari and them over at the upper level. So I guess he just thought everybody was a piece of trash like Tenari was and running a place like he was. And you can Google Tenari Moore, and you can see that I'm not speaking outside the realm of reality there when I call him a piece of trash. And we always got along, but I got along with trash. I mean, I knew he was a crazy, dangerous person, so wasn't going to try to get in the crosshairs with that guy. He's in jail for killing folks and being a federal snitch and all kind of crazy stuff, if my memory serves me correct. So let me say allegedly. But with that said, the dad goes to court, and they realize at this moment that this just shows you the credibility issues with JPD. They didn't even know that contributing to the delinquency of a minor was no longer even a law in the state of Mississippi. So they had arrested my dad on all these charges, and they had to be thrown out right there in court. But they were all BS to begin with. We were very strict on IDs. And also, with that said, we could have been an all-age nightclub. We were a restaurant. We had a food permit because you got to have a food permit to have liquor. We were not resort status downtown at that time. So in theory, you're an all-age restaurant. There is no designation there's no nightclub permit. You got a dance hall permit in conjunction with your food permit, but if you have a food permit, you are a restaurant, not a nightclub. At the time, like I said, we were not resort status. They left us off of that block when they created that. And we could have let all them minors in there as long as we weren't serving them alcohol. But we still didn't do that because we didn't want kids in there. It was 18 and up, which honestly, hindsight's 2020. I would never own a nightclub that allowed, it would be 21 and up for females, 25 and up for males. That would be the only way I would do another bar. I would not let any male in there under 25 unless they were in the military. That would be the only, or law enforcement. Any others? You're just going to end up drunk fighting. So they had to throw that out. And then Frank, I guess, was trying to extend an olive branch and got in touch with Kamikaze, Brad Franklin, and they got in touch with me and like, hey, Clay, I want to do an event for the kids. So keep in mind, so we just arrested my dad for allegedly letting kids in the nightclub. But now Frank wants to do an event at the nightclub for the kids. You can't make this stuff up. But we agreed to it because he's the mayor at the time. And, well, you know what? He wants to work with you, not against you. You do that. It's like maybe it'll take some of that smoke off of me. Maybe he'll go mess with Kim Wade down there at Jazzy's or something, which he did that too. And anyway, we ended up doing that event. I don't think 5 people showed up to the mayor's nightclub for the kids event. But that was my one real interaction with Frank Melton. Let's take a break. We'll be right back here on The Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. This segment brought to you by our friends at Cypress Point Resort. Guys, we're going to drive this one home hard. This weekend, Saturday night, you've got the big Halloween costume contest. It's also a huge fundraiser for the Real Men Wear Pink American Cancer Society fundraiser. My buddy, my old friend, 25 plus years, Mr. Buck Allman Jr., is going to be throwing a big old event. He's one of the Real Men Wear Pink ambassadors this year. Here's the deal. Here is the deal. You got 2 of the biggest drawing bands in the history of this city. You got Spank the Monkey, the headliner. Legends, Doc Legends. Can't wait to see Heath and the boys. Then, I didn't even know they were doing this. Opening, you got Pop Fiction, Joey Tannehill and the crew. It's going to be insane Saturday night out there at Cameron's Garage. It's going to be a sellout. Get your tickets now. Go by Cypress Point Resort Facebook page. You can find the link. I think it's only $15 in advance. It's going to be $20 at the door. But I'm telling you, don't wait to get to the door and be upset. I don't want to see you with a boo-boo face when you can't get in because it's sold out. Now, I don't know what a sellout looks like there, but if there was ever two bands on a Halloween costume contest to do it, this is it. This is it. Haters, y'all looking for me? I'll be there. I ain't going to be hard to find. I will be there. Now, I might be in costume, but I'll be there. No, I'm kidding. I don't do costumes. I play a pimp year-round. I'm going as a radio host. Anyway, man, get out there Saturday night. It's going to be a heck of a time. And then, hey, we're going to run it right back Sunday. Spank the Monkey back out there doing an acoustic set Sunday afternoon. Weather's going to be beautiful. There's nothing worse than going to a Halloween costume contest and it being too hot and having to wear a costume and you're sweating and stuff. If the weather stays like it is, I hadn't looked at the forecast, but man, looking like Saturday night, Cameron's Garage, Cypress Point Resort is going to be the place to be. And of course, don't forget you can get out there and enjoy a big old steak dinner at the steakhouse or the tavern or great bar food. Get out there early Saturday, watch all the great college football games on the big screens inside Cameron's Garage, the biggest open-air sports bar in the state as far as I know, but definitely in the Tri-County area. Man, can't wait. Spank the Monkey, Pop Fiction, Halloween costume contest tomorrow, Saturday night. And, hey, Buck Allman's going to be here in the studio with me tomorrow. Going to be co-hosting the first hour with me. Buck was a tour manager for some of the biggest rock bands in the world, sound engineer. We're going to tell some old rock and roll stories, talk about Buck being a Real Men Wear Pink ambassador, and, of course, we'll talk about the big event this weekend at Cypress Point Resort. But more than that, more than anything, I can't wait to hear him tell some war stories about being out on the road with some of the most famous musicians in the world. See if he's got any good stories to tell. I know him and I got some good stories to tell, but we'll see if he can tell us some that I'm not familiar with. Y'all going to be blown away. Boy from right here in Pillahatchee, Mississippi, out on the road with some of the biggest bands in the world. And I don't use that term lightly. He legitimately was tour manager and sound engineer to the stars. All right, let's continue. Where do we want to pick up at, man? This NBA story is unfolding kind of in live time here. The FBI is going to have a press conference at 9 o'clock. It appears that Chauncey Billups was arrested for something to do with poker, and Terry Rozier was, in fact, arrested for gambling on the NBA. But it's all tied. I'm not kidding here. This is what the Fox News article said. This is tied to the La Cosa Nostra Mafia. I didn't even know La Cosa Nostra was still around. I thought they had gutted that. Sean Yerkron, are you listening to this? We just had a big old conversation about how much we love mob stuff the other day. And I said, man, feel like I've watched it all. I was like, we need some new mob stuff to talk about. I was like, I've kind of seen it all at this point. I've been enjoying this Netflix documentary about the Toronto mob, the Canadian mob. I didn't know that existed, so they were pretty violent up there too. It's been interesting to watch. So it looks like we got something new to talk about because the NBA getting rattled to its core, shook to its core, with mass arrest in the NBA this morning. The head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, the guard for the Miami Heat, and some former players, the 31 total arrests. This is all breaking in live time here. Couldn't happen to a better bunch, if you ask Clay Edwards. Couldn't happen to a better bunch. Let's see here. Man, I really wanted to play a video. Unfortunately, y'all know my love of video. But here's a story. Here's a local story. Lakewood Funeral Home over there on Northside Drive. Not the one in South Jackson, but the one in North Jackson. These folks, man, I'm really kind of torn on how I feel about this. I guess my initial gut reaction is I don't like it. But then if I peel the onion back a little bit, I'm like, do I really have a problem with it? But I have to go with my initial gut reaction is I don't like it. So if I was the decision maker and I had to ask myself if the if the people are telling me they don't want this, I probably need to go with that. If I know deep down this is wrong, I don't need to do it. So, Clay, what are you talking about? They're throwing a trunk or treat event at the cemetery for kids in the neighborhood, that's that Clinton Boulevard area. So, it's not the best area, but hey, that ain't the kids' fault. But not necessarily the best area. Fred Shanks and I passed by that cemetery the other day going out to lunch in Clinton the other day, and I told him, I said, man, I've got some friends buried back there. And I said, when I first got my drone and I started doing Save Jackson stuff, I rode around back there and did a bunch of stuff. I said, that place was in bad shape, but they've done a good job bringing it back to life. The South Jackson location, not so much. But then last night I saw, you can go to WLBT.com and find the story. Yeah, they're going to throw a trunk or treat event for kids at the cemetery at Halloween, which, you say that out loud. It's like, oh, that's kind of neat. A trunk or treat at the cemetery. But then they invited the family. They sent an email out inviting the families of people who were buried there. I don't like it. It stinks a little bit. So the families got out there and called WLBT, and they've called a press conference, and they're just letting it known that they don't like this. And the funeral homes come back and say, look, we're not doing it at the cemetery. We're doing it at the entrance to the cemetery, at the main office area. So I'm just curious, what do you guys think? Fair or foul? Should they kind of listen? And the families aren't even saying cancel it all the way. I don't know. It just feels like it's in bad taste. Like, I get it. It's not like they're doing a haunted cemetery ride or something like that, which honestly, I would go to that if they did it. I'm just going to be being fully transparent here. But if I was a family member, I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it. I think that's kind of where I think where I have to fall at, is fall on the side of decency here and say that I probably wouldn't do this if it was me. But I can appreciate, as a promoter, as a guy who loves putting together events, I can respect the cemetery for thinking outside the box. And, also, God, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but, whatever, I've said worse. That's a high crime area over there. A lot of them folks, end up being little gangbangers and drug dealers, and they do die, at a high volume over there. And you're looking for new customers eventually. And so you introduce them to the place, and they've become familiar with it. So, well, hey, that's where he was at the trunk or treat last year. We might as well have his funeral there this year. Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. Let's take a break, come back, reset. This is the Clay Edwards Show, WYAB. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. Be sure to go subscribe to the Clay Edwards Show podcast, wherever you download podcasts. Audio version, Apple, Spotify, Podbean, any of those places. We're there. It's uploaded, commercial free. All the dead air and commercials cut out of it. Takes a 2-hour show, converts it down to, I think, about an hour and 20 minutes. You can listen to it on the go, on demand, wherever you are, worldwide or locally. And again, leave that 5-star review on Apple. Send me a screenshot of it. I'm gonna give you a promo code to get an item in the merch shop for half off. Text it to the Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. Let's see here, man. Let's tell you about a sponsor, a great sponsor. How about my buddies over at A1 Gear and Auto? Man, great guys over there. You need any automotive repair? Are you getting your vehicle this morning? Your heat not working? You're like, I didn't realize the heat was broke on this thing. Let Justin and the team take care of it for you. Brakes squeaking? They got you covered. Rotors, they can fix those. Calipers, they got it all, man. They can do it all over there. Water pumps, doesn't matter what it is. They got you covered. The only thing they don't do is diesel engine repair. So I tell you, if you drive like a Nissan Altima, those dang bearings in the front ends, those things are terrible. They go out so bad. They get to roaring and all that stuff. And Justin could take care of that thing so quick, your head will spin. It'll take a couple hours. He's got you in and out of there, once they start working on it. I'm not saying you can pull in and get it done immediately, but it's not a very long tear down situation. We had one of the exes had to have a couple of hers replaced over there, and it made all the difference in the world. Them dang Nissan Altimas, they tear those things up on those dang bearings in the front end there. Anyway, A1 Gear and Auto, no matter what it is, they got you covered. They specialize in ring and pinion. So if you're having any roaring in your front end, rear end, done torn it up out there mud riding or getting ready for deer season, you done put some bigger wheels and tires on your Jeep, your vehicle, your truck, whatever, and you've lost some power, well, that's because that factory ring and pinion ain't made for those big wheels and tires. So get your power back by going to A1 Gear and Auto and letting them get you the proper ring and pinion in your front, in your rear end and your front end. You can do just the rear, but your four-wheel drive won't work anymore. So you got to do the front end also. All right, man. That's A1 Gear and Auto, Highway 49 South, Florence, Mississippi. Let's see here. All right, so I got to pivot, and I'm sorry I hadn't read your comments online. I see them, but the show is flowing rather fast, so I don't have a lot of time to go back and read the comments this morning. So I was listening to Joe Rogan late last night. He's got an episode out with those two guys that do the Trigonometry podcast from England, which is one of my favorite podcasts. It really is. And Joe mentioned something about, he mentioned something about the Ed Gein documentary. Not documentary, but the mockumentary, whatever you want to call it, on Netflix, the Monsters thing. Ed Gein's the guy that they based Psycho off of. They based the Texas Chainsaw Massacre off of him. They based Hannibal Lecter and so many others off of him. And, he was clearly a cross-dressing nut job. Well, most normal people can watch that and just get a yuck out of it. Yuck, 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 yuck. A yuck is a laugh, by the way, a chuckle. So if y'all wonder what a yuck was, it's some of my new lingo. And most normal people, even normal gay people, y'all know where I'm going with this. Even someone that normal LGBTQs can get a chuckle out of it and just be like, what a weirdo. What a weirdo. I might like wearing panties, but at least I don't like wearing people's faces. Not me, the LGBTQs I'm talking about. So I might like wearing women's dresses, but hey, again, at least I don't like wearing their faces. Well, guess who's offended by this? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. If you guessed the transgenders, you guessed right. The transgenders believe it is falsely depicting transgender people as being violent, face-wearing murderers. Yes. So Joe brought that up, and I was like, really, Joe, is that just something you saw on the internet? You just think that, man, surely not even there that crazy. So I go to Grok, and I typed in, are there really people upset about this? And, the answer is, of course, yes. Yes, there are. I said, who are the people angry about the Ed Gein documentary? Why is it doing that? That is not what I was asking. Okay, got it here. Sorry. It says, who are the people angry about the Ed Gein story, making cross-dressers look crazy and claiming that it's causing a hard time for transgenders? So here's what Grok said. Because they do actually exist. There are people who have enough free time to get mad about a character on TV. It says the backlash primarily stems from transgender advocates, the LGBTQ plus media outlets, and queer writers who criticize Netflix recent Monsters, the Ed Gein story. Hard stop real quick. I figured out another saying after the Hamas people were in Jackson the other night protesting. There's been you've seen the gays for Gaza, but have you seen the homos for Hamas? How has nobody said that before? Homos for Hamas. It was in Fondren, so I'm just throwing, 2 + 2 = 4. Anyway, let's pick him back up here. So the LGBTQ plus media outlets and queer writers who criticized Netflix's recent series Monster, the Ed Gein story, released October 2025, for perpetrating harmful stereotypes. They argued that the show's portrayal of Ed Gein, depicting him as obsessed with cross-dressing, women's clothing, and figures like trans pioneer Christine Jorgensen, reinforces the debunked myth that Gein was transgender or a cross-dresser, linking such behaviors to madness and violence. This, they claim, fuels anti-trans rhetoric and endangers transgender people by associating them with serial killers in pop culture, echoing tropes from films like Psycho and The Silence of the Lambs, in which Gein inspired. The key individuals and groups expressing anger include, and this is important, May Rude. This may come as a surprise to y'all, but with a name like May Rude, like Moulin Rouge, a transgender writer and editor who, in an opinion piece, called the series' use of terms like genophile, a reference to the pseudo-scientific autogenophilia theory, a promotion of, what are they just making up words now? The autogenophilia theory? A promotion of anti-trans talking points and scapegoats trans women as fetishists or predators, potentially justifying real-world restrictions on their rights and safety. And then Drew Burnett Gregory, a queer filmmaker and critic specializing in horror tropes, who slammed the show for reviving baseless claims about Gein's cross-dressing or trans fascinations, which she says lack historical evidence and stem from a 1950s transphobia, arguing it exploits these myths for entertainment while contributing to the cultural scapegoating of trans people as violent. Well, have you seen who's done all the mass shootings lately? I'm just saying, if the slipper fits, wear it. Anyhow, then of course the writers and editors at outlets like Them.us, a queer-focused publication, who accused creator Ryan Murphy of indulging in the, quote, transgender killer trope before a half-hearted subversion, exploiting public fears about gender deviance at a time when trans people are disproportionately victims of violence, not perpetrators of violence. That's a damn lie. And then, of course, the Pink News staff. I know y'all wanted to know what the Pink News staff thought about this. The Pink News staff, who highlighted how the series' fictional elements like Gein's imagined obsession with Jurgensen have sparked social media misinformation, with users conflating Gein's actions with transgender experiences, making the myth, quote, muddier than ever, and amplifying stereotypes that trans people are inherently dangerous. And then, of course, my favorite website name of all time here, it's a feminist queer site. Their words, not mine. Autostraddle, a feminist queer site where Gregory's piece emphasized that Gein, quote, never even cross-dressed, based on reliable records, and the show's reliance on sensationalist lore from biased sources harms trans visibility by tying it to criminality. I would love to know what these, quote, reliable sources were that claimed that Gein never even cross-dressed. Like, he wore people's faces and made chairs out of their skin. I just have to ask, I mean, is it crazy to think that maybe he also wore women's clothing? That's a line too far. He wore people's faces, but hey, don't say he liked wearing panties. You better not say it. You better not say it. Furthermore, let me finish reading this real quick, and then I want to circle back to something because we've only got about 2 minutes left. It says online, the sentiment echoes among trans and queer users I love the fact they call themselves queers. Queer users on platforms like X, formerly Twitter, such as @SummerOfFilm, who described the portrayal as crazy transphobia, propagating debunked cop superstitions, and Nuttergeck, @Nuttergeck, who called it a blatant transphobic agenda. Broader community backlash, including Reddit discussions and YouTube videos, accused the series of endangering lives by reviving these tropes amid rising anti-trans legislation and violence. Guys, look at me in the eye here. Not a single person saw this docuseries and thought to themselves, I got to go attack me a transes now. We already think as bad of y'all as we possibly can. There is no documentary that's going to come out, no depiction of a trans person in a movie that's going to come out. No, nothing is going to come out that makes a single person think any worse of you than we already do. We know you're bat crap crazy. We know you probably like wearing people's faces around the house. You're already trying to wear a woman's face when you're not even a woman. Of course you wouldn't mind wearing your mom's face. People are crazy. And the only transgender violence that's happening out there are these trans prostitutes that are selling themselves as being actual women to straight men, and straight men finding out that, hey, there's a little extra down there, and them getting their butts beat up and or killed after doing it. That's the only trans violence going on in the world today. This is the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back to land the plane for the day. All right, guys. That is what we call a barn burner right there. I feel like I brought my A game today. I left it all on the court. Probably one of the best shows I've ever done. Brush that dirt off my shoulder. Y'all be blessed. I have nothing else to say. That was a good show. Thank you. Good night.